Tickle Me Elmo, terrible choice. Because he's got all of Sesame Street to back him up. You think you want the Count coming after you?
He's going to be, ha ha ha, and he's going to be fine?
You think you want to hear, ha ha ha, in a dark alley? No, that's the last thing.
We're in loosely related stadium.
There we go. You gotta go. You gotta go.
Hey there, welcome back to Loosely Related. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Weddle, and this week we have with us Brian Swafford, instructor and director of forensics here at Northwest. Swaff, can you tell us a little bit about what you do here at Northwest?
So I am the head coach of the university speech and debate team, which means that I oversee our competitive speech and debate program. We travel across the country to tournaments at colleges across the region, across the country, ultimately building to a national tournament that will happen usually in March around spring break.
Well, we're very excited to have you on the show today. Obviously, you know a lot about the ins and outs of debating.
I do.
I do not.
Okay.
So do you think you could give me a couple quick tips, pointers on good debate strategies?
Yes. So the most important thing to remember about debate is it is not so much about being right. It's about convincing your audience that you're right. Because the person that ultimately decides who wins or loses a debate is the judge or our audience members. The second thing is making sure you know what you're going to talk about and you can speak convincingly about it. Sometimes it's about being right, sometimes it's about believing that you're right. And as long as you can do that, you'll do fine.
Well, thank you. I hope, that'll give me a little bit more of an edge today. Our wonderful producer, Riley, is going to be our moderator for our debating today, and she's going to explain how the games are going to work.
So today we are going to be doing some drafts to decide what we will be debating about. Each round, one of you will receive a card with your prompt on it, and you will say your first answer. The other person won't know what the prompt is and will have to base their answers off of their opponent's answers. Once each person has chosen 3 answers, the person that did not know the prompt will say what they thought it was. Then, once they know the real prompt, they can begin the debate by hitting the timer. You can interrupt each other as many times as you want, whenever you want. Just make sure you hit the timer. Are you guys ready?
I think so.
Yep.
Okay.
Hamburger helper.
All right, I'll go meatloaf.
Ice cream.
Cherry pie.
One singular McDonald's Big Mac.
Let's do a Whopper.
Well, these are all great answers. Obviously, one side is much superior, but
Sure.
The real draft that we had going on today was the worst things to serve at a fancy dinner.
You know what? I'm still feeling confident. I think you're in trouble.
We'll see about that.
All right. So here's the reason why these are the worst options for a fancy dinner. First of all, meatloaf is not really classy. It's lowbrow. It's it's not as popular with aristocratic or elitist circles.
I'd like to stop you right there. Have you ever seen Gordon Ramsay make a meatloaf? That man makes the fanciest, most delectable looking meatloaf I've ever seen in my entire life. You can throw not just your average everyday ingredients from the grocery store, panko. He makes his own breadcrumbs, puts them right in there. I don't even know what else he does. It's that fancy.
So here's the problem with the idea of Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay also is English, and they have no sense of taste. And so that's going to be the first problem. But the second problem you have with Gordon Ramsay picking these things is Gordon Ramsay also likes fish and chips. He also makes steak sandwiches. He also makes pizzas. The fact that he can make a meatloaf, which any of us can make, does not make it fancy. It's just his Gordon
Counterpoint,
Ramsay.
I've never made a meatloaf. And I'm not the worst cook in the world, but I'm not Gordon Ramsay. Second point, hamburger helper, it comes out of a box. You don't want to put a box on the dinner table. Come on now, none of your guests are going to be like, oh, hamburger helper, that sounds pretty good. This little hamburger helper.
But again, if you choices when you have the cheese, you can add extra cheeses, extra sauce, extra seasoning. You can pick fancier meats, which would make it a superior choice to a meatloaf, because how does a meatloaf ever look good? As soon as it touches a plate, it almost immediately falls apart because it is greasy, it hasn't rested enough. It's just going to be an issue with it.
I think clearly you've had the wrong meatloaf in your life. But going on to our last point here, the single Big Mac. Big Mac is such a cacophonous word at a fancy dinner party. You want words that flow off the tongue. Whopper, it's nice. It's got the W, the R, the H, the silent H in there. Everybody loves the silent H. I think our 2 middle choices are pretty evenly matched. I would have to give the point to ice cream though, because pie, it's a very fancy thing.
I see. Here's the problem with ice cream. They already serve ice cream at fancy meals. It's a palate cleanser. Cherry pie, it's a mess. It falls out of the crust if it's made well, and if it doesn't, you don't want that.
Well, I think counterpoint, ice cream, it gets all over your face, and that's all the time we have left.
Okay, the crew has decided that although Swaff might have had some better points, we're gonna say that Jackson did pretty well for this round, and he gets a first point.
Pity points, we'll take them.
A Keebler elf.
A Northwest Missouri State University squirrel.
Tickle me Elmo.
Oh, well, now I'm lost. The Pillsbury Doughboy?
Dr. Kylie Wilson.
John Travolta.
Good. That's a good guess. Okay. So what do you think the prompt was?
Well, initially, I thought it was things that lived in trees, because I'm pretty sure the Keebler elf lives in a tree. And I was like, squirrels live in trees.
Yeah.
And then you said, tickle me Elmo, and I was like, crap. He doesn't live in a tree, I think. He lives on Sesame Street. So I was like, maybe it's just, small, cute characters. Or just small characters.
Sure.
And I went, the Pillsbury Doughboy. He's small, and it kind of ties into the Keebler elf. They both bake, I think. And then, to tie it all off, Dr. Kylie Wilson, our first guest on this show,
right,
threw me for a complete loop. So I said, John Travolta, why not,
Right. So the prompt is the worst people to back you up in a bar fight.
First of all, Tickle Me Elmo, terrible choice. Because he's got all of Sesame Street to back him up. You think you want the Count coming after you?
You mean he's going to be, ha ha ha, and he's going to be fine?
You think you want to hear, ha ha ha, in a dark alley? No, that's the last thing.
But if in a bar fight, that's going to get you into the fight. That's not getting you out of the fight. And also, John Travolta, he's old. He's so old. But also, because that does work in your favor, also the other problem that you have is that he's been in every action movie that has been around for like 40 years. He can fight.
Counterpoint, Mission Impossible. Also, he's old. He's so old. He'll just crumble into a pile of dust right on the ground. I mean,
he's currently magic because he's playing Santa in a commercial, so I don't know that he's actually going to disintegrate as you will. But Kylie Wilson? Well, nobody wants to fight Kylie Wilson. Why would you want to?
Now, obviously, I would, not want to fight Kylie Wilson. She already beat me in one contest on this show. Pillsbury Doughboy? What do you think he's going to do in a fight? He's just going to run around. His hat's going to fall off. I don't even know if he has a hat. Northwest Squirrels? They're chickens.
Vicious. They're vicious. They will bite you, and that you don't want any of those. They'll also give you rabies, which is a fun little trick.
Objection, leading the witness. Have you ever been bitten by a Northwest Missouri State University squirrel?
I don't get close enough to the squirrel because I'm smarter than that. I'm not going to do that. But have there been students that try and take them home?
So you're saying
Yes.
you're smarter than the squirrel, meaning squirrels, they're very dumb creatures. They're not that smart.
You don't have to be smart to be vicious. That's not a point.
You know who's smart? The Keebler elf. He comes up with those little cookies of goodness.
A cookie isn't going to get you out of a fight.
Another counterpoint, bribing your opponent. And that's what I'd like to do.
And if we're going to use bribery, then why not the Pillsbury Doughboy? The Pillsbury Doughboy is going to give you all sorts of delicious treats, not just cookies. And who's ever mad at Pillsbury biscuit?
The Pillsbury Doughboy scares himself. You pop open that thing at Crescent Rolls, you jump. I mean, it's terrifying. And he made that. He scares himself quite a bit.
But that's the reason why he's an asset for you. Because he's going to scare himself, and he's going to scare your opponents. And really, that's all I need to worry about.
Sorry, Jackson. This one's going to Swaff.
I'm going to say forest fires.
Mudslides.
A singular Big Mac.
Pimento cheese.
Murder.
I'm going to go with a podcast.
The prompt was worst things to write a song about.
So I initially thought that this was tragedies. And so I kind of went with tragedies. So let's start with this idea of what are the worst things that you could write a song about. I think that obviously murder is a bad choice for you because there are numerous songs that are written about that. Snoop Dogg is famous for Murder Is the Case. You have Johnny Cash who was talking to us about how he wanted to go to Reno just to watch a man die. Like there are numerous instances where murder is clearly a recipe for hit songs.
Now see, I think kind of in the same way against you, Mudslide, it's got that, nitty gritty, down to earth feel to it. Literally to earth.
Actual dirt doesn't necessarily make you a hit. Like, I guess if we were Dust Bowl era kind of country singers, maybe that might make sense. But most of the time,
counter-angle, jazz musicians often call dirty things, it's good. Oh, it's dirty, it's a real dirty, nasty solo. Mudslide, they're dirty, they're nasty. They start running, you know, the pace starts to pick up a little bit. The tempo goes a lot quicker. Just with like Mudslide, a great song, sometimes has a key change, tempo change.
Now, I know when we talk about something being great, I'm not obviously not young, but I believe the term is lit or something is fire. And so I feel like you're already way behind because we've got something that is fire and you're talking about hit records already.
See, I think forest fires is one of the worst things to choose a song title about. You know, people lose their homes, people lose property, crops, fields, you know, things have to be saved from these forest fires. Think about all the little cute animals losing their homes. You don't want to sing a song about that. You don't want to be the guy who sings forest fire, and then some little raccoon is coming up to you like, oh, you talking about my burning home. You don't want to be that guy.
Counterpoint, sure I would. Why not? Because I want to have something that is going to be epic, that everyone's going to remember. But nobody wants to sing about podcasts. You barely want to be on a podcast. That's what we're trying to avoid.
Actually, I love being on podcasts. Behind the Bearcat with Travis and Hannah, best podcast. I mean,
it's a great
it was
podcast.
Phenomenal.
It's absolutely great.
Great. I would love to write a song about their podcast, personally.
Sure. I withdraw.
I think, once again, Swaff is taking it home.
I think I'm going to start things off strong. Number one pick, I think it's a very clear answer as to what this should be, and I'm going to go with Ghosts.
Interesting. I'm going to go with Big Bird.
I'm going to say the band Journey.
Okay. I'm going to go with Shaquille O'Neal.
I'm going to say one really well-made hot cocoa.
Okay. I'm going to go with a Ford F-150.
All right, we're going to find out what
All right.
this is. Oh, I'm going to lose this so fast. The best weapon to have in the zombie apocalypse. Well, that's the show. Oh my God.
All right, you ready?
All right.
Tell me what you were thinking with hot cocoa.
So, first of all, it's scalding. You know, it might be a little sticky. You can really
A
hear
nice
those.
hot cocoa scalding?
A great hot cocoa is scalding.
Okay.
You know, you don't want to be able to feel your taste buds for days after.
Isn't the whole point of a hot cocoa to be able to taste the delicious creaminess, especially when you use a little cream, a little marshmallow, make it nice so that you can enjoy it?
Hot's in the name. I mean, look, it's right there. You want it hot. You want to scald them. You want to make them sticky, and you want to make.
Sure, but hot is important, but you're talking about causing physical injury. Why would you want to drink that?
Because you're using it against zombies.
Okay.
A nice hot cocoa in the zombie apocalypse is not a nice hot cocoa
Now,
on
are
a cold
zombies
winter day.
allergic to believing?
Yes, I've done some research with the University of Arkansas, and they've found that Journey is the #1 most zombie-hated artist out
Sure.
there. Don't Stop Believing,
Right.
Can't Stand It Faithfully, they hate it. Any
Aren't
way you
ghosts
want
gonna
it.
be on the side of the zombies?
No, okay, so back in 2008 roughly, they had some beef going that, you know, it didn't come to the public eye until quite recently. Ghost kind of stealing Zombie's thunder,
Right.
so now Zombie said some things about Ghost's mother that wasn't okay.
So how is the zombie a threat to the ghost?
It's not, that's why Ghost is the best weapon to have in the zombie apocalypse.
How does the ghost hurt the zombie?
Emotionally.
That's a good answer. Let's talk about why I'm right. So first you got Big Bird. Think about the reach that Big Bird has. Like, not only is it sunshine and rainbows, which is the natural enemy of zombies, but also just extensive reach advantage. Then we're gonna get even a bigger reach advantage. We're gonna go with Shaquille O'Neal. And not only that, but have you heard him sing? Have you heard him rap? It's awful. And that means that he's going to be able to drive the zombies away. And while they're driving away, they can do it in a brand new, super large F-150.
Well, I have nothing to back me up here. Well, it's really hard to say who won all these rounds today. Do you have anywhere for our viewers to see what's happening with the debate team?
So the speech and debate team, we have been posting things on our various social media accounts. So we still have an account on X, formerly on Twitter, is Speaking Bearcat, and then we also have Speaking Bearcats on Instagram, so you can follow us on both of those.
Well, make sure to go check that out and come back next week to see the series finale of Loosely Related. We'll see you then.